Hey, welcome to the Inner Circle podcast, where growth minded leaders come together to build better businesses and better lives. I'm your host, Hector Alvarado. Here, we don't do theory, we share real lessons, real systems, and real strategies you can use right away. This is a community for people committed to growth, impact, and supporting each other on the journey. You're in the right room, my friends. Let's get started.
Welcome everybody. As Alan said, it's week 4 of the Scalable Business Blueprint, and this is it. You made it to the final piece of the puzzle, right? This completes the 4-week series, and every entrepreneur, no matter what stage, eventually hits a moment of profound realization. You likely escaped your first prison many, many years ago, working for someone else, where you traded your precious time for a paycheck, right? Feeling a lack of control and building someone else's dream. So, congratulations on that leap. You took the path of entrepreneurship, right? Whether that's a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, you did it. But then, for a second, far more insidious prison often emerges. And that's that you're working yourself. You're working for yourself. Yeah, we can all agree on that. But guess what? You're still trapped. You're still trapped in that time for money exchange. We've seen it, right? I've heard it. I've often hear it from entrepreneurs that say, "Man, vacations. What is a vacation? I have no idea what that is. They never occur. I go away, but I'm still working, right? Whenever I have to go away on time off and have to delegate tasks, they fill me with anxiety. And you might be today earning more money than you did at your previous job, which is fine, but you're also working twice as hard if you're getting paid at all. And so that is depending on where you're at in your journey. You might be in there. Plus, you're now having to put out a lot more fires. You're simply just traded one set of bars for another. But today we're going to talk about how you break free from. We're going to give you the blueprint to dismantle the second prison entirely, forever. All you need to do is follow this framework. And this is where we're going to take you from being an operator in your business to really into the role of a true CEO and true leadership framework. Okay. And so let's clarify this critical difference because it's the foundation of your freedom. So as you move forward, you need to understand the why. An operator works in the business, doing the work, doing what needs to be done. And a CEO, a true visionary, works on the business, building the machine. An operator manages the task and reacts to daily fires, but a CEO leads people proactively and prevents the fire. They're forward thinking, they're seeing ahead of the obstacles, right? And so it's important to understand the CEO success is the team getting things done without constant constraint and direct involvement. That's a very key wording and phrase. It's without that direct involvement. An operator's time is spent in execution. And so today we're going to focus on strategy, vision, and true leadership because that mindset of I want it done right, I need to do it myself, needs to exit now. The CEO mindset is really if you want it done right, I build a system and empower capable people. Again, if you want it done right within this right framework and mindset, you will do through systems and empowering capable people because this isn't about working less. I want to make sure that that's clearly communicated now. We're not saying you're going to work less. You're going to work less by byproduct of what we're going to talk about, but this is about working differently. It's about shifting from practical, low leverage activities to strategic, high leverage and high impact. It's about building a business that serves you rather than you serving it. And so by the end of the call, you should be able to define your two CEO role, design your ideal week so that you can work in it and be successful, build a leadership structure, and then start and implement your 90-day sprint methodology, your 90-day cycle. Okay. create metrics within that, and build your weekly operating rhythm. This is all part of what brings this together for us and for you. Now, again, as the CEO of your company, and this is doesn't matter if you're a solopreneur or an entrepreneur, okay, this is for everybody. Your plate isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. So I hear this a lot because people feel like they need to be involved in everything and they want to have final say. But I can tell you that that mindset is what's in fact bogging you down. And there are 6 responsibilities that only you, as the founder and leader, can or should truly own. Outside of these 6, I don't want you to think about them because if you're focusing outside of them, you're again imprisoning yourself. So I'm going to give you the 6. Okay. And again, even if you're a solopreneur, thinking about these roles helps you prioritize and plan for growth because ultimately everybody wants that growth. So let's start with number 1. And it starts with setting vision and strategy. That's your first area of where you need to work on. This is your North Star. It's about asking, where are we going? How will we get there? And what are our absolute priorities? And most importantly, what must we say no to? Okay. This is not deciding which client to take next or what color scheme logo you should use. Okay. This is deciding if you should expand into new markets or product or service. For a solopreneur, this might be defending or defining, I should say, sorry, defining your niche for the next year. Understanding what specific area in your service offerings you're going to focus on. For a $10 million a year company or 15 or 20, it's about market diversification or a merger acquisition strategy, growing through acquisition. Okay, your number 2 area where you need to focus on is to build and lead the team. You know what's crazy? I'm gonna just pause for a quick minute. And I had an opportunity to go to a network event this week in Calgary, and the network event was all about mergers and acquisition brokers, capital investment firms, and those entrepreneurs looking to buy and sell businesses. And I'll leave a little nugget for those here of what was the number 1 topic everyone in that room spoke of that every entrepreneur misses. They all focus on revenue, they all focus on profitability, they all focus on clients, they all focus on the activity stuff. And guess what is the one thing that entrepreneurs miss? It is the one thing that buyers are looking, bankers and capitalist investors are looking for when they're going to buy and give a valuation to your business. And take a wild stab. It's culture. It's building a strong culture and a strong team in your business. I can tell you, if you don't have this, you are leaving millions of valuation dollars on the table. Millions. Which was profound for me because as I sat there and I went through a full day, and there was about 7 different forum speakers, and every one of them talked about the importance of this. So building and leading a team has to be the second thing that you have to work on because a business is only as strong as its people and its culture. And so this involves hiring key positions, developing high performers, and building culture, and holding on to true leaders and accountable decision making. This is not managing every single employee's daily tasks. Okay. This is not you having to be there for every single hire. That's not what I'm saying. It is, though, about making sure that you are there to set the stage for growth and that you are assessing the key deliverables from the key roles in your organization and making sure that they're aligned with your vision so that everybody here is performing at the optimum for the business. So for a solopreneur, this might mean finding your first reliable freelancer, someone who may work alongside you that will continue to work within your brand. For a small to medium sized business, it's about structuring your management team with the right core values, with the right clear agenda and items that they are accountable. So just giving you some nuggets of information as we move through. Okay. The third thing that you must be working on is to ensure financial health. Money is the lifeblood of your business. And your role here is to be strategic about that oversight, knowing your numbers, making resource allocation decisions, ensuring profitability, and planning for growth capital. This is not about your daily bookkeeping. Like you should have a bookkeeper to do that for you. That should not be you. You should not be the one chasing every late payment, by the way, also. Like that's not you making calls for collection. That is like a $15 job. And in the past, we talked about entrepreneurs, real serious ones, focusing on the $200 job, right? And so like that's a key one that I wanted to touch on. You should be looking at where to invest, right? Where do we need to cut costs? Or what kind of funding do I need for growth? For a solopreneur, this could be reviewing your monthly profit and loss statement, knowing where your activities go. For again, so let's call it a $5 million business. It's about understanding your quarterly budget planning and reviewing it, having a cadence to do a quarterly meeting where you review all those tasks that we talked about. The fourth thing that you should be working on, and this is just as critical, is protect the brand and reputation. Your brand is your most valuable asset, and you are the ultimate guardian. It's not Bob. It's not your general manager. It's not your, supervisors. It's not your field staff. It is you. You protect the brand. And I know this that with when Willie and I worked together, it was everything about Willie's Trucking. It was protecting that brand at all costs. Because again, this means that you're managing major client relationships. You are the face of the organization, right? So you're the one making key partnership decisions. This is not handling every client call. We're talking about strategic clients, not every single one, right? This is not you managing every social media post. You don't need to be the social manager. There's chatbots literally that can do that for $24 a month. Doesn't need to be you, okay? This is about making sure that you're focusing on those clients that represent 20% of your revenue and focusing on that portfolio, okay? And navigating any PR challenges that come, through business transactions. So again, I'm going to give you examples as we go. Solopreneur, this might be nurturing relationships with your top 3 clients. Just pick your top 3. Doesn't have to be everybody, but your top 3. Top 3 in revenue, top 3 in lifetime spent value. Pick those numbers and keep working with them. For a larger, again, small to medium sized business, it's about strategic PR. I know for sure what I remember that worked in brand recognition at Willie's was the social media posts that Willie owned. It was the barbecues that were at the communities and key account partnerships every single season for brand recognition. Everybody knew of them in the local communities, and that drives that brand awareness. The fifth thing you should be is driving innovation and improvement. That means that you are constantly looking into the future because stagnation is the enemy of growth. So your role is to keep the business moving forward and exploring new products, new services, understanding what is the competition doing, what is happening in our industry, and championing new ways or new processes in which you see the business moving forward. You should be asking, should we launch this new year? Right? Are we falling behind from our competitors? Right? And having that sort of finger on the pulse, engaging the trajectory of your business. For a solopreneur, this might be developing a new service package, a new offering. We heard Peter just before the call talking about, hey, he just learned that the organization he's with offers a better offering than the WCB component. Maybe now that that's known, that's an avenue, that's a niche that we could go into. And so just being aware of some of those pivot points and targeting them. For again, another small to medium sized company, it's about R&D investments, understanding where do we need to look at for some of this, right? And maybe it's acquisitions again. So for the sixth area is maintain perspective and energy. Now this one is so important because it's the most crucial, but mostly left behind. And what I mean by this is that entrepreneurs don't put enough value on this, and they effectively leave it out of sight and out of mind. And then they complain about getting burned out. This means that you're prioritizing your health, you're engaging in continuous learning, and you're taking time off intentional to think and recharge. How many entrepreneurs do you come across that don't take care of their bodies? They'll often say, man, I wish I had enough time to go to the gym, or I had enough time to eat right, or I'm not sleeping enough, or I'm not doing this. It's because they're not prioritizing that activity, right? If it was a meeting for the client, you bet that they'd put it on their calendar, they'd be there. But book an hour to go to the gym or start cooking your dinners, right? Instead of ordering through Uber Eats, right? Like it's making it a priority strategically and intentionally, because reminding yourself that this is not selfish. These are not selfish tasks. And it's not optional. It's essential for business leadership and your responsibility to the business. If your health is not in check, how's your business going to be in check? You have to be healthy. You have to be of the right mindset, because if you don't, you're going to have so much burnout. And it's just going to create that same level of activity downstream. Remember that people will follow what their leaders do. And it creates that same like monkey see, monkey do type of activity within your business. So just be mindful of that. Now, I want to make notice of something of what's absent from the list that I talked to. I talked to you specifically about 6 items. And what I left out was client delivery, daily operations, marketing, administrative tasks. Folks, those are your team's jobs. Now, that's not your job. They can be a function of what you lead, but they're not your job. That's not yours to do. Yours are 6 specific items, right? And that's your CEO role. That's your true leadership visionary role. Now, what are the 3 to 5 things that only you can do in your business right now? Like write those down. Take a quick minute, brainstorm. 3 to 5. I gave you 6, and now bring them to you, right? What are those 3 to 5 things? And if you want to put them on the chat, go ahead, let Alan put them in there. Or if you want to put them down on a piece of paper, go ahead. We can talk through them later as we go. But I want you to write those down, because when we go to Q&A, we're going to come back to you. Now, let's talk about your ideal weekly rhythm, right? Most entrepreneurs have reactive, chaotic weeks. And we talked about time management in the past in these calls. But we want to make sure we put some focus onto that in this call. Again, as we talk about a scalable business footprint, we have to talk about what you should be responding to. And it's not the loudest, it's not the firefighting, but it is the solution for you to really be proactive in understanding that each day should have a theme. If anything, we should theme it out and understand blocks, chain blocks of your day and of your week and of your time. So a quick recipe I'm going to share with you today is start with the following. Let's make sure that Monday becomes your strategic work and deep thinking, right? This is your time to work on the business. Monday, it's your first day in, you got lots of energy, right? So you protect this time. So you say no meetings on Mondays. I want to have no meetings. This is strategic planning. It's for product development and or for process improvement. And you and your board, you and your think tank, okay? Then you move on to Tuesdays. This is for leadership and alignment. Now you get your team aligned that week. You start with your weekly rhythm meetings. You review your metrics, your dashboards, and you set clear priorities for that upcoming week. As a solopreneur, this is your strategic planning session with yourself. This is where you're like, hey, what am I going to achieve this week? What am I going to really put some focus on, and map out your week through that, that beginning, right? Now on Wednesday is your people and culture. This is where you develop your team. And what I mean by that is you build your culture. This is one-on-ones with people that report to you. Okay. That one-on-ones or one-on-one meetings with people, right? You want to make sure you have a time to coach and catch up, build meaningful relationships with those that report to you so that you keep your circles connected. If you're a solopreneur, this is often dedicated or should be dedicated to a high value client. Book a coffee, book a lunch, book that time with a high value client every Wednesday. Your Wednesday become your people and culture intentionally. You book them on those days. On Thursdays is for external growth. This is business development. Again, back to the big business, right? This is looking for partnerships, marketing activities, facing activities. So that means client meetings, networking, and high value sales deals. So this is on the flip side for the big organizations is looking to see who am I going to go check in with, right? Who of my client list do I need to stop by and drop off some donuts with? And that's the day in which you do that. Those are your lunch meeting days. That's your Thursday. That's your out of office day where you're doing some of those activities. And Fridays is for review, reflect, and plan. This is where you close out the week and prepare for the next week by reviewing your metrics, reflect on what worked, what didn't work. And here's a critical self that gratification that, hey, although we had a million fires and we had a storm that we went through, we also locked up that account. And I also saved that employee from quitting this week, and I took so and so for a good lunch. All of those things are critical wins that entrepreneurs sometimes oversee because it's not revenue directly. It's not like, hey, I locked up a $10 million account. No, but you saved a long-term employee from quitting on you this week. That's a big win. And so understanding those are important. And then you plan for the next week. Now, the weekends, that's your recharge, that's your time, that's your family time, protected at all costs. I like to definitely do that on Saturdays as much as possible, but then on Sunday evenings, my shift happens and it's my time to go back to the gym, which means it's time to go back to work. Sunday evenings, right by 6 p.m. That's when the weekend is over and it's time to go back to work mode for me. You do you, but that's just my own cycle. And so what this structure means is no more constant firefighting. Each day has a purpose. And so you're constantly working on the business, not just in it, now by design, folks. And that's so important as we put this plan together for you. Next is let's build your leadership structure. Now, today, I get it. If some of the organizations that are on the call may not have a full executive team, and that's okay. Like that's fine. But you still need a leadership structure because even if you're wearing multiple hats, think of these 5 essential roles that you must have in your business today. And you have to map them out and put them together for the success of your business. And you start with the visionary, the CEO. Okay, that's at the very top of that role. That generally is you, the founder. Okay. Then next to that is your operator. You want someone in the business that's really running the day-to-day of your organization. And that's the role you want right below the visionary. And then you break out into 3 critical functions. Your operations leader, that's who's running the execution of day-to-day of the operational functions of every business. That includes operations, health and safety, anything quality related, your production type teams, your service type teams, okay? The next piece of that is you need a revenue leader. So here you need a sales leader. You need a sales and marketing seat, okay? And then you need a financial leader. This is someone who's going to run the numbers and know the metrics and really understand them inside and out. Those are your critical 5 roles. If you want a 6th one, which sometimes it's required, depending the size of your business, is your people and admin functions. This is your HR. This is, your people and culture that is now quite a famous term that is popping around, the business world. And this is the people that really take care of your HR systems and processes. Now, even if today you find yourself sitting in 3 out of those 5 to 6 roles, it's okay. What's critical is defining clarity within the role. Because as you grow, you'll strategically fill these with real people. But imagine hiring for a role that you don't know what it entails. All you have is a title. Well, you'll say, well, I need an operations manager. Cool. What does he do? Oh, I don't know. He's an operations manager. No. Well, what does he do? Well, he runs the operation. Okay. What does that mean? But if you did it the other way, if you had clearly defined the bullet points of accountability, everything that the role owns, everything that they're responsible for, when you go to hire, guess what? Now you know the skill and the person you're looking to hire. Very different worlds, right? And so that's why this is important, even if you're a solopreneur, even if today you're like telling me, well, I don't need that yet. I'm not that big. We're not building for today, my friends. We're building for the future. So be future thinking and live in, right? Again, another component of this is because as you scale organically, you may be hiring people, but you're going to need to learn to delegate tasks. And so as you do that, you have to have the structure in which you define who has decision-making authority and what role takes that on. Because if you don't, guess who's going to have to do and make every single decision in your business? It's you. It's you. Everything will come back to you. It'll be like, hey, James, can I buy that forklift? Hey, James, can so and so have vacation? Hey, can that guy go to the washroom? Can that guy do this? Like, that's what happens. Is it always filters back to somebody having to make the call. So if you're not strategic about deciding who has authority and to what level of authority, you will be the only one making it. And this isn't about control. It's about being very intentional to how you plan out who has that. Ultimately, you're still the owner. You're the founder and you'll have final say. But you'll want to know decisions that are for $500 and less. I don't care. Let that guy do this. Okay, 1,000 to 5,000. That's a manager's decision. I'm going to let the managers handle it. 5,000 and greater, well, then that needs to be the general manager. And anything greater than 15 or 20,000, it better come to me, right? Being very specific to the bandwidth of decision-making availability, okay? So I think that's a critical one that I wanted to share with you today so that you can start to map out those within your business. Again, to give you some freedom and some structure. The next one, we like to call it the 90-day methodology. And this is, if some of you are working with us on the Compass program, which we really encourage all of you to do that. When you do that with us, you really learn about 90-day planning and understanding the problem with some of the advisors out there that tell you, hey, do your annual planning. Great, you do it once, but it's so long. You lose focus and you lose momentum. So we are big on 90-day solutions, 90-day execution. 90 days, that time frame where it's just short enough to maintain focus, but long enough to achieve meaningful progress. Now, what I mean by that is like you'll be able to select the 1 to 3 things that you must absolutely achieve in that quarter. And when you go execute it, that feeds into activity for the following quarter, and so on and so forth, that ultimately help you in achieving that long yearly goal that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year. So 90 days is something that we really encourage every entrepreneur to look at it. Stop looking at your business at 1-year cycles. Start looking at it as quarterly cycles. Understand your quarterly priorities, understand your quarterly goals, and review your execution quarterly to know if you're on track or off track. This will make it easier chunks for you to really win out the quarters and ultimately the year. Now, this framework is so simple. You start first week, you execute it, and then you'll eventually see how quickly it starts to just compound for you. And I'm going to give you an example of how does this work. Even for a solopreneur, you might be saying, well, how do I make this work for me? This could be as launching a new service. And you just say, I'm going to take the next 90 days. I'm going to map out that new service. I'm going to strategically look at marketing. I'm going to look at my ideal client base. I'm going to look at my profit. I'm going to break down my numbers on this new service so that I don't do it for free, right? And being strategic and doing the analysis in that quarter, and then you launch in Q2. So that's an example of how you'd use this. Now, my challenge is go plan that one thing for the next 90 days and don't let it sit there. Now, all of this is great, but you're missing another item of it, sort of the cherry on top, if you would. Okay. And this is when you start to shift into building a metrics driven culture in your company. What we find is that a lot of organizations understand, and the owner is talking about metrics, but what about everybody else? What happens in the field? What happens, at that level? Do they understand metrics? Right? Because most teams operate on gut feel. I remember walking into some businesses where they don't have this, and they believe they're doing a good job. I'll often walk up to them and I'll say, "Hey, how's the week going?" "Great." "Yeah, what's great about it?" "Well, it's been a great week. It's been slow. It's been quiet." "That makes it a great week." "It's slow. It's quiet. That's a great week." No, but you walk into organizations that understand this, and they'll say, "Yeah, it's been a great week. We hit our KPI metric, our trucking. Like we always used to look at 100th weight, be like, we hit our 100th weight this week. We signed up a new customer. We've gone X days, 0 injury and no lost time. We've done this, and this." When you hear that, that's music to my ears, and that is the challenge for you as you're talking about implementing metrics driven culture. Can your people talk to that level of what success looks like in your business? That's when you have truly implemented a metrics culture. And how do you do that? Well, you start off with first learning and understanding your indicators, which we talked to you all about, right? Understanding your metrics, the 3 to 5 key metrics that your business needs to implement, that you need to know about. And then understanding that they are lagging indicators, right? Because you want to know, are these going to be, telling me, are they leading? Are they lagging? Which means, are you looking at forward, or are you looking at reactive results to let you know where your focus should be? You track both, because if your lagging indicators are off, then look at give me an example. Okay. Well, my sales are down. Okay, good. What does your funnel look like for your activity? Because if your funnel activity is down, then your sales are going to be down. So understanding the difference of lagging and leading is very crucial. So putting together a scorecard for your team, and then going to every role in the organization and saying, you need to know one number. One number is the number that defines if you're having a good day or a bad day, and assigning that number to people. That's not saying assign a number, making them a number in your organization. I'm not saying that, but give them a carrot to chase. What's the one metric that next time you ask them, next time you're doing a site walk around, they'll tell you that it's a good day because we hit X number. Very simple. And if you start to do that, it creates engagement, and it truly becomes transformational in your company. Okay. So, we want to challenge you this week, and I'm going to give you with an action plan, and that's to define your visionary role. Design your ideal week the way that we talked about today, and sketch out that leadership blueprint that you need, and then set a date. When will you start your first 90-day sprint and cycle, and begin that, and then plan it out? Imagine 90 days from today, right? How will your business look like if you put together everything that we just talked about? What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What are some of the activities that are happening in your business? Because that's how you truly make that shift from, just firefighting to planning ahead and acting like a true CEO in your business and really growing as a leader and encouraging that your growth in your business happens the right way. So over the last 4 weeks, you've built your scalable business blueprint. You've removed yourself as the bottleneck. We started with that, right? You built the systems that allow you for delivery and you fixed your profitability. And today you put together your leadership operating system. Now you have a business that works for you and one that will ultimately give you the freedom and your desired outcome. So challenges, get going at it. You've now gone through the 4-week cycle. We put it all together for you. You have no excuses to why you can't move forward and start implementing these tools now, right? We've shared them with you. We've opened them up, and all of these are in our toolboxes in our community. So let's get you going. All right, I'll pass it back to you, Alan.
Wow, what a great series this has been. Like, it's really been where the rubber meets the road, practical stuff in this series. It's a series that I'm sitting here thinking, man, every small business at the solopreneur level needs to hear this and needs to learn this, so as they begin to grow, they know how to grow, and they know
Yeah,
how to grow with intention and why to do that. I mean, I know it. I think we all do. We all know people in business that are they've been in business a while and they don't know this stuff. I really appreciated the fact, Hector, that you started with the 6 areas of CEO focus, if I'm going to say it that way. And,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
love it. Setting vision and strategy, build
Mhm.
and lead the team, oversee financial health, protect brand and reputation, drive innovation and improvement, and maintain perspective and energy.
Yeah,
How many people I can talk to, and Peter you can talk to, and James you can talk to, and and ask them, hey, what's your position in the company? Oh, I'm the CEO, I'm the president CEO. Great. What's your role? And they can't answer that question. And they actually
that's right.
go into the daily operations stuff. So I really appreciated the fact that you defined what the CEO role is by these 6 things. I love that. And then you took us, I wrote this down. It's working on the business by design. And then you told us what that actually is and what a CEO actually does, kind of
Yeah,
day to day to do that. And that's one of the probably the first times I've heard that so structured and so clear. It was excellent.
interesting.
I really
Nice.
appreciated that. This is definitely going to be a call that all of us need to go back into the community and listen to again, and certainly probably all 4 calls on this series. And then you took us
Yeah.
into the 5 critical, secondhand leaders roles, what those
Hmm.
roles are. And I love the fact again. Oh, I think I need to hire somebody. Oh, why? and
Yeah,
and, and who are you going to hire and what role are they going to fill, and people don't know, right? We just hire because we're at our wits end and we can't do it all anymore. So I just love, and then the 90-day plan, and then build a metric driven culture with a language that your people can actually speak and know. That was really
that's right.
brilliant, and I love it. So such a great practical lesson today. I might even have to say, I've told you this before, Hector, but this might actually be one of the most practical lessons you've taught us.
Oh, I appreciate that. I
And
think
I,
it's
and I, and
true.
I mean that as a compliment. And like, what was some of the practical stuff, Willie, in on your journey at Willie's Trucking that we talked about today?
Yeah, first of all, it's definitely something that I didn't really know anything about either. And like what Hector said about even just what does it mean to have a good week? Even just breaking it down, like he explained that as well. I think that was also an eye-opening for me was, yeah, how is a good week supposed to look like in our business, and having actually something to track against, I think was very, very powerful. And when you can communicate that to the team as well, that then there's so much more power behind it because everybody understands it, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's not a
Very good.
secret code that only you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's very much that ability to then engage everybody with, right? Because then everybody's speaking the same language.
Yeah.
What breaks down engagement is when there's lack of clarity. And so if you go to, an operations field, you say, hey, what's a good week? Like, what's your week looking like? Oh, it's great. What is it? Why? Why are you winning? Because we're boom, we've gotten this metric down and it's on point for the week, and it could be like that at the beginning of the week in your startup meeting or your weekly meetings. You said, hey guys, this week we want zero customer complaints. Zero customer complaints. That's your number for this week. And so everybody's working their butts off to make sure there's zero customer complaints. And so when you as the owner come down on that shop floor or walk through and everybody says, yeah, it's a great week. Why? Because we've had zero customer complaints. Bam. That's when
That's-
you know.
Yeah.
That's
That's
when
not just hitting the target, that's hitting the bullseye, right? When you
Yeah.
got that clarity and that focus and everybody knows what it is, we're not just shooting the arrow and we're happy because we hit the target. No, we hit the bullseye and we hit excellence.
Yeah.
We're
And
gonna
oh, go ahead, Al.
No, you finish.
Oh, I was just going to say, in a solopreneur, I think of this and you might think, all right, well, that's great for business, but what about me? What about the solo person? All right, well, maybe it's a great week defined by activity. I want to make 15 calls this week. And then you show up to, at solopreneur and you say, all right, solopreneur, what's making it a great week? I'm at 17 calls and on Monday I challenged myself to make, 15, right? And, or I was going to make one in-person visit. I'm going to lock in one lunch this week and you hit that. It's starting with a number and challenging yourself to know what that number is as the week progresses.
That's a wrap for today's episode of The Inner Circle. If something in today's conversation resonated, inspired you, or gave you a breakthrough, please share it with someone you care about. The right idea at the right time can change someone's business and their life. So make sure you follow the show, leave a review, and stay connected with us because this community is built on relationships, real support, and real growth together. Remember that clarity means nothing without action. So choose one insight from today, put it into motion this week, and notice the shift. Thank you for being part of this journey, for showing up for your growth, and for being part of the Inner Circle community. See you in the next episode, and let's keep growing together.